Congratulations, you finally made it to 4 p.m. You know what that means. Happy hour. It's time to kick back, relax, and dive into the world of sports with the Young and Norvelle Show. Whether you're catching up on the latest scores, analyzing the big plays, or gearing up for tonight's games, we've got you covered. So grab a cold one, settle in, and let's talk sports. Here they are, Patrick Young and Terry Norvelle.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to a Thursday edition. You know it by now. If it's the Young and Norvelle Show, if it's Thursday, well, we are set up, ready to rock and roll for 2 solid hours on the patio right here at Sliders Oyster Bar. Beautiful, beautiful day. They've got the heaters on. Right now, we don't really even need them, but, man, they've got the climate-controlled patio. They can drop the vinyl windows, I guess you call it, vinyl doors, and really control the patio. Climate, no matter how hot or cold, you can't go wrong when you're at Sliders Oyster Bar. Terry Norvelle here, a lot to talk about. We hope to get it mixing a lot of college basketball. Boy, college basketball happens every year. If you don't seek it out, you're missing a lot of really good college basketball. Florida with a big win last night. We'll get into the SEC ACC 2-day challenge, and it was about as bad as you could possibly get for the Atlantic Coast Conference. The SEC, 16 games, absolutely undressed the Atlantic Coast Conference in basketball over 2 nights. We'll talk about that. We hope to catch up with Lee Humphrey. You know Lee, one of the great players in Florida basketball history. Lee Humphrey, a starting member of the back-to-back Florida Gator basketball national championship teams. Lee was the number 2 guard, deadly outside shooter, and good ball handler. Really a vital member of that Gator basketball team that won back-to-back national championships. Lee is the color basketball color analyst for a radio broadcast, and Lee was on hand and is on hand for just about all of the Gator basketball games, and we're trying to get Lee hooked up here momentarily. Hopefully we'll have Lee and dive into Gator basketball. Last night's Florida win over Virginia. SEC as a whole, how good can this Florida team be? How deep can they go? The schedule, things like that. Some other college basketball we want to get to. Miami, the Hurricane football program, it appears they're going to get locked out of the college football playoff. Want to get into that a little bit as we go. Miami right now is feeling the pain that has FSU trying to get out of the ACC. I mean, if you break it down, Miami with 2 losses, they just don't have the conference schedule resume to compete, even though they're 10-2, because the the Atlantic Coast Conference is so bad that they're probably just going to get 1 team, and they just don't have any pelts on the wall, big wins coming out of that conference. I mean, that is the concept of why Florida State is trying to get out of the Atlantic Coast Conference, because the conference has not done enough to keep the conference on par with the big boys. And you worry, even when this thing expands, what if you go 10-2 next year? What if you go 9-3 one year? Even when it goes to 14 bids and teams, if the Atlantic Coast Conference doesn't improve their overall whole, gosh darn, you may see this happen year after year after year. What if you're 9-3 and you're trying to get a 3rd bid in a 14-team field down the road? Will it be there? Boy, Miami can really feel why FSU is trying to get the hell out of that conference, and probably some other programs as well. We'll talk about some other teams in terms of their schedule, and there are a couple that are really under my craw a little bit right now. I still am having trouble with Boise State. They have a sexy national player that might win the Heisman Trophy, that will certainly finish 1, 2, or 3 in the Heisman balloting. We all know the running back Genty at Boise State's a great player. Are they a good enough team out of the Mountain West? We'll go over their schedule, and you may be shocked. They've played, 3 Power 4 schools. They played Oregon off their feet, and Oregon beat them by 3. That's Boise State's only loss. Good, tip of the hat. But you're talking Washington State and Oregon State, teams like that. And then it's a mishmash of lower division. It's a mess. If Boise State's schedule is a mess. Are the Broncos, are they in because they have a Heisman Trophy candidate, a high profile? Is that the reason they're in? If Boise State did not have the same record, the same season, but if they did not have a high profile player, would a lot of the country be clamoring? They deserve it. They deserve it. I don't know. I don't know. Also, we're going to talk about, and we'll get Zach involved. I'm not sure if Patrick will join us today. A little bit later, we want to talk about today is a very, very, very historic day in the history of college football. And I don't think I'm blowing this out too much. We're going to look back at what happened on this date back in 1992. And it is probably the one game that has allowed college football, and it took a while, but has allowed college football to ascend to a 12-team playoff, soon to be 14-team playoff, a monumental happening back in 1992 that really, really shaped college football for the future. It took a while, and it's taken several machinations of it, but if you're happy where we're at, and I am, I think it can be tweaked and it can be a lot better, that being the college football playoff, but you got to be happy now. We've gone from a mythical champion being named, right? There was no one game you looked at. It was just voting and polls for 70, 80 years, 80, 90, 100 years. That's how college football decided the mythical national championship. We finally got to 2 teams would meet. A selection committee would make it. Then it expanded to 4, and now it is to where we're at 12. The game we're going to talk about, we're going to look back, 1992, probably the most historic football game to get college football where it's at now, and it almost backfired. It almost totally backfired. We'll get into all that and a lot more. We'll do some news, some more college football news. Boy, what a strange happening. UCLA, pretty good rebound season under first-year coach Deshaun Foster. Okay, you know, Chad, Chip Kelly left UCLA after about 5-6 years. Deshaun Foster on the staff got the job. UCLA had a pretty good year. They won 5 or 6 games. Not a great year, but it's a total a pretty big rebuild. Well, Deshaun Foster brought in longtime NFL assistant Eric Bieniemy. You remember that name, Bieniemy? Boy, his name, Bieniemy, was an assistant coach in the NFL for, I bet you, 15 to 20 years. And he was well respected. Eric Bieniemy's name popped up with probably 10 different NFL jobs over the years. And he interviewed with quite a few. And a lot of people to this day are dumbfounded how and why Eric Bieniemy never got an NFL job. Some people said he wasn't a great interviewer. He didn't interview real well. Obviously, I don't know that, but that's one reason. So Bieniemy takes a step down. I mean, he goes to UCLA, the offensive coordinator. He was fired today. He was absolutely fired. That was a strange happening, I think, 1 year in a rebuild. And Eric Bieniemy, gosh, what does he do? Does he go back to the NFL? Strange situation. Zach, I'm not sure. Any chance Lee is on with us or no? He's saying he's trying to get on.
I'm on.
Hey, Lee, how you doing, buddy? I wasn't sure we had you yet. Number one, thanks for your time, my friend. How are you?
Doing well. Good to talk to you again, Terry. It's a great time of year now, basketball back.
Man, it really is. We're talking with Lee Humphrey, the color analyst for Gator basketball on the radio. Obviously, 2-time national champion. With Lee was a vital member of the 2 best basketball teams in the history of Florida basketball, the back-to-back national championship teams. Lee, yeah, we had a lot of fun. It's hard to believe it's been a full year now. All of a sudden, we did this weekly last year. Gator basketball off to an incredible start. What are they, 9-0 now? A nice, slow, methodical beatdown of Virginia last night. Virginia, not too bad. That was I thought, a good little test, and Virginia came out hot, and they were hitting bombs early in that game.
Virginia has not got off to the best start with Tony Bennett, stepping down before the season. They had a slow start to the season, but coming into the game last night, they were playing well. They'd crushed Holy Cross the night before. And if you look at some of their stats, they're pretty efficient on the offensive end. So it was a good test, but we dominated. There was a couple different runs in the first half, especially to start the game where Virginia got out hot. But besides those 2 runs that Virginia had, I mean, we dominated the game.
You probably, you and Sean probably alluded to it on the radio broadcast. On television, the TV boys threw up a graphic, and my God, Florida had at one point a 27-0 run in the game. It's like the 4th biggest run in college basketball this season. A couple teams had 28-point runs, but man, it got crazy. I mean, Condon's hitting threes. They're doing what they want inside, outside. Florida basketball. We're about closing in on 10 games in. Lee, overview, stepping back, it looks like they've got a lot of pieces. It looks like they're going to go about a good 8 deep. They're going to rotate about 4 big guys, which is a nice number. Backcourt is strong with a potential first-team All-American and Walter Clayton. Aberdeen now is first guy off the bench in the backcourt. Overall, Lee, you see them, you watch them, you're courtside. How good can this team be? I think they've got their better days are ahead of them, but how good can they be?
I think they can have a great year, Terry. I mean, if you just look at the rankings, the way we've risen, we're 5th in the net right now. Top 5 team in the net rankings, which is a big factor in NCAA tournament seeding. We haven't 13 points was our closest game on the road at FSU, and FSU is playing pretty well right now. That's our closest game. We're averaging 21-point victories. Granted, we haven't played the toughest schedule. We do have some pretty good games coming up, but still, the guys they've got a great approach to the game. They play extremely hard. They play fast. Yeah. They've carried over the offense from last season. But I think what's different this season is the defensive effort. Right. I mean, we are when we turned Virginia over last night, and they don't turn the ball over.
Yeah,
they averaged less than 10 turnovers a game. I think they had like 16 turnovers or so. Some of them were shot clock violations, but we defend, and that's why we blew out Wichita State and Wake Forest. That's the biggest difference. Adding in Elijah Martin, transfer from FAU, is a big physical senior guard. He changes that dynamic for us on the defensive end.
A lot of people don't realize, I think, that as you mentioned, Elijah Martin comes over from the portal. And a couple of years ago, I mean, this is a guy that has Final Four experience. He was the leading scorer in the game. He played the Final Four game, and he was the leading scorer. And you go bring that guy in. Lee, I know Patrick and I had Coach Golden on during the summer. We were doing a show down. I think Patrick had a book signing. We were at Coach Spurrier's restaurant, and we had Todd on. And early in the conversation, I remember, we thought we were looking ahead and what's your team going to be like? What do you need to do? What do you think they're going to do? And it was no secret. Florida can't keep giving up, beating teams 92-85, and defense was the I think it was the buzzword for Todd Golden, and I agree with you. They're athletic enough, and you think this will carry over there. They'll play better defense this year than they did last year.
We'll definitely play better defense than we did last year. I mean, we're extremely old team now. Our guards are experienced. We start 3 seniors. Denzel is playing great. He's a junior now coming off the bench. And, Alex Condon, who starts, has got a year under his belt. He was a freshman. Thomas Houck coming off the bench was here last year. Those guys play extremely hard. So their defense is going to be even better than last year. And then we added 2 great defensive pieces in Sam Alexis coming off the bench and Ruben Chinyelu, who's starting. Both guys are extremely physical, probably an upgrade for us on the defensive end, at least in the low post. So I definitely think the pieces are there. We'll see consistently across the year we're playing better defense than last year. The schedule is going to get extremely tough, though. If listeners are following the SEC is just absolutely loaded in basketball this year. It's going to be an incredible conference season.
We're going to get to that schedule in a moment. I don't think the home office did Florida any favors either for people that haven't kind of peeked at the conference schedule when it starts. Let's go back to a couple of things. Talking with Lee Humphrey and Little Gator basketball as Florida/the SEC off to a tremendous start here. What was it, 14-2, the 16 games over 2 days? The SEC had a 14-2 win in the ACC SEC Challenge. Very impressive. You mentioned low post. As good as your 2 teams that won national titles were in the low post, obviously Noah, obviously Horford. There was always one more guy, though. It's nice to have that rotation. There was Adrian Moss. There was Richard You need a little rotation, a little 3-4 guys down low in that 4-5. And man, it looks like those four are kind of interchangeable, those bigs for Florida.
We do have, so we had four guys in both years. So Chris Richard, Adrian Moss were the two key guys off the bench. The first championship, the next year, Chris Richard and Maury Spates. So we had four NBA post players. I mean, pretty incredible. This team does have, I guess time will tell to see if their top guys have careers like Joe Kim and Al and Maury Spates as Chris as well, but we are four deep. It's a solid four. There's not really a big drop off when you rotate any of those guys, and they all play extremely hard. They know their roles,
really do.
Super unselfish. There are a lot of similarities with the team that we had in that respect.
Well, you're probably the best guy to ask about outside shooting. I mean, you were a marksman from behind the line, I think the best that Florida's ever had, and the numbers bear that out. I've been preaching to my buddies the entire early season that I'm telling you, I know the numbers don't reflect it when you look at the long ball, the three-point shot. I think this Florida team has multiple good shooters. I think the balls are going to start falling. I think Martin can shoot. We know Clayton. Aberdeen, my God, when he gets in, he makes them. But are you with me there? I think even though I don't know what the three-point number is as a team right now, it's probably not good. This team, in my humble opinion, it's not just Gator Terry. I think they will end up shooting much, much better as the season plays on from behind the line.
I agree with you 100%, Terry. And one of the reasons why is the way that we play offense and defend. We're getting out in transition because we're getting stops and running. Whenever we're in transition, we get really good looks from a three-point line. And we didn't get off to a great year shooting the ball, but we got good shots. And because we were getting good shots, high percentage shots that were open for our shooters, I haven't really been that concerned because Walter Clayton can really shoot it. Elijah Martin can shoot it. Will Richard is still struggling from the three-point line, but he can get hot, so I'm sure his percentage is coming up. Alex Condon's over 40% right now. He's making about one a game. It's not a big number. Denzel can shoot, like you mentioned, and I think if you look at the last 3 to 4 games, I don't have the percentages offhand, but we're shooting the ball much better than we did the first half of kind of this early season schedule. So the shooting doesn't really concern me that much. I think, that's going to be solid for us throughout the season. We shoot a high volume too. So the percentage is not going to be quite as high because we're taking a lot of threes, but it's still going to be good enough.
Tell you, last night, watching Condon 5 or 6 times get in low post position and go to work. He's pretty to watch. He's got great feet. And then he steps out, hits the three. And like you said, I think he's like 8 of 18 now or something. I mean, if he stretches his game out, and he's got a good looking shot. I mean, he and Hout, I think for big guys, have great looking shots from outside. I want them down low doing work inside, but man, if they give you 1 or 2 a game, look out.
That's right. Thomas hit a couple in the Orlando Thanksgiving tournament. I think he may have had 3 or 4 during those 2 games. Like you said, Alex stepping out. It adds a different dimension when you can have your bigs stretching the floor too, because we play kind of the older style, traditional 2 bigs, and we always have 2 bigs on the floor. But if one of those guys is stretching the floor too, now we become a little bit more like kind of a 4, the 4 out 1 in type offense that a lot of teams run.
So Florida has wins over, at least I can think of 3 ACC teams. They beat, obviously, FSU, Wake Forest, and last night Virginia. What the ACC may not be as strong as ever, but I mean that's the Atlantic Coast Conference, for God's sakes. The schedule heats up the non-conference. I guess Arizona State's coming up after a few days. North Carolina is coming up. So the North Carolina win would be a nice win. I know they dropped their game last night to Alabama. Lee, you've probably looked ahead, but I don't know if a lot of people have at the schedule. Obviously, when the calendar year turns, it's conference play. It's SEC ball, time to get it on in conference. We have 2 new schools coming in, the SEC, so there's got to be some scheduling adjustments. I get that. Lee, I don't like the schedule that the conference threw out to Florida. If I'm reading everything right, Florida will open up conference play at Kentucky, and they don't play Kentucky a second time. They only go to Lexington, as I see it.
That's right.
They
right.
only which is tough. You like to have them back in Gainesville. They only go to Auburn. I don't think they play Auburn twice. They only go to Auburn. They only go to Alabama. They don't play Alabama. And they do have a home and home with Tennessee, who might become the number one team in the nation when the next poll comes out. Lee, am I reading this? I don't think the conference did Florida a whole lot of favors with this thing.
No, but the one thing is, I think everyone's conference slate is going to be tough because the conference is so good right now. I mean, we probably have the two. I think we're one of the top teams. But if you take out us from that top equation, we've got two of the top three teams in the conference we're starting out with Kentucky and Tennessee. You got to put Auburn in there, and I think we're in there too. So it's a tough slate. I mean, right now, I think the latest bracketology has 12 SEC teams out of 16 in the NCAA tournament. The net ranking that was updated after yesterday's games has 5 SEC teams in the top 10, 8 in the top 25, and there's not a single SEC team out of the top 100.
Yeah. Unbelievable. I saw that same number. Like, they're projecting 12 that get in. And again, Auburn lost at Duke last night, which is no shame. Duke came in last night. They were the home team. They were ranked ninth in the country. But Kansas, got knocked off. Was it last night, I think, by Creighton, unranked Creighton. Tennessee may jump up to number one. I know it doesn't matter. It's early, but I mean, those top four now, not that the conference isn't deep, but those top four. And then, Lee, 14 wins in 16 games against the ACC the last 2 days. Lee, most of the games were blowouts. Most of the games were blowouts.
That's right. Most of them. I don't know. Usually I'm not the historian on these conference challenges, but
sure.
I feel like if you win the challenge by 2 or 3 games, you've kind of dominated the challenge.
Oh yeah. Well, I remember following this thing since it's been born. And there's pride. You want your favorite school's conference to win. I remember following this thing several times where that late game I think Florida closed it out one year not that long ago where it was tied, and Florida, the final game was going to determine the winner. It was going to push the tie, and I think it matters. I think it does matter, and the ACC, they moaned last year because they only got 5 teams in, and most people said, well, you didn't deserve them anymore, and man, they're off to a tough start. I mean, the ACC is off to a real tough start. Lee, I want to go back. What a shame, though, for the program that has been built, the Billy Donovan, the Todd Golden program that has been built. And the last several years, I've gone to a lot of Gator basketball games in Gainesville. Is it the biggest arena? No, but they put on a good show. The Gator basketball fans, it's a loyal group. What a shame they don't get to see Kentucky, Auburn, or Alabama roll into Gainesville this year. What a shame. That's just a shame, I think.
I think especially with the team we have this year, you would want at least 1 or 2 of those games at home, and especially Kentucky and Tennessee. I mean, I just remember from my days, you always had – I kind of wish we could go back to the East and the West, but you always had home and home with Kentucky and Tennessee. So this may be the first year we haven't had a home and home with Kentucky, and maybe ever, forever.
And Lee, a lot of times that second Florida-Kentucky game would be the final regular season game. And it meant a lot.
It always was when I played. It was a Sunday CBS game, 1 o'clock. Yeah.
I remember that well. Nationally, real quick, we'll get you out of here. I appreciate your time. Nationally, the back-to-back defending champion UConn team, man, they've lost 3 or 4. They got to win the other night, but boy, it's strange to see them on a 3-game skid early. And boy, Dan Hurley hadn't been happy. He has not been happy early in the season.
He's an intense guy. We all do that. Now it's coming out when things have – maybe he's just so used to winning. He's going to have to gonna have to get used to a little bit to not being the top team in the country.
Kansas goes down last night, but again, basketball there's so much parity in basketball. You're not going undefeated. I mean, what was the last one? 76 Indiana, I think. Bob Knight's team went wire to wire. You're just not going undefeated. Kansas, real good. I know. What I hate about this time of the year for college basketball is, Lee, unless you search it out, a lot of people just miss these great games until the calendar turns into the new year. A lot of people they don't get in basketball mode. And Lee, there have been some tremendous games around not just the country, but abroad, out of the country, all those tournaments. I hate that the great game of college basketball gets buried here the first 6-8 weeks.
Especially these 2 weeks around Thanksgiving are always great. It's a little bit quiet leading up, and then Thanksgiving week has the tournaments, always some great matchups. And now we have these conference challenges right around this time too, where you get, you have 8 great games between SEC, ACC opponents, and they're all happening on one night. So the way the TV works now, you can put a lot of the games on at the same time and watch all 4.
Man, I tell you, and the individual players, man. I mean, you look around. I mean, Mark Sears and Walker Clayton could be first-team All-Americans, man. I mean, just 2 great guards that run their team and score. Broom with Auburn is as good as anybody in the country. Feels like he's been there forever, but what a handful. Tennessee, I think Ziegler's back, right? The little point guard that has been around Tennessee for so long. And they're going to throw athletes at you, Tennessee. Yeah,
they're extremely strong. They have a transfer from UNF, led the country in 3-point shooting last year. Great NBA prospect. So they got a fun team.
Yeah, and I promise we'll get you out here in a second. After Florida, I and during a commercial, I caught a lot of the North Carolina Alabama game, and I mean, talk about athletes. Bama, you can't play that style without a bunch of athletes, but Bama just toyed. I know you were busy. Bama toyed with North Carolina in the Dean Dome. I mean, they were so much more athletic, and they played way over the rim. They played 94 feet. They toyed with North Carolina last night, Lee.
Oh, they've got, it's like last year's team, too, that went to the Elite Eight. Length around the rim, guys who can stretch the floor shooting, play super fast. I mean, it's they probably play a little faster than we do, but it's relatively similar style.
Wow, he's done a great job, Oates. Lee, we get out of here by saying, have you and Sean, are y'all still doing your shoot-offs before basketball shoot-offs before games? And what's the ledger look like if you are?
Well, we haven't had a chance to yet this year. It's just the way the season has worked out, and kind of some, haven't had too many normal home games where there hasn't been something going on. So we're going to have to, maybe conference season, we're going to have to get it started up.
And y'all do it from the hash mark, kind of? Is that, I can't remember.
That's right, from the hash mark.
From the hash mark, which is, gosh darn, that's a long show. And Sean, your broadcast way, he's got game now. He's got game.
He's got the advantage. He did that in the NBA before every game, and they play, 82 games. So he gets a lot of shots in there from there.
Are you old enough to remember the Globetrotters and Meadowlark Lemon? I think he had that hook. Meadowlark would do the hook from the half court corner right there and make them. He would make them.
Amazing.
Crazy.
Great.
All right, Lee, thank you so much. I hope to get you on. Pat's out today, but we look forward to you dropping some knowledge on us all season long. And man, I hope we're talking to you into April.
That's right. Let's get all the way to the Final Four.
That'd be nice. Thanks, Lee Humphrey. We appreciate you, buddy.
Thanks,
you guys remember the great Lee Humphrey, best pure shooter in the history of Gator basketball. He, I think, still holds the record for most 3-point shots made in the NCAA tournament for a career. I mean, he went every year. They won back-to-back championships, meaning you played 6 games and another 6. You got to win 6 to win the championship. So in his final 2 years, they played in 12. They were there all the time, and Lee Humphrey could absolutely shoot the lights out. That was just one more aspect of that team. You had Noah and Horford, and then a couple, as you heard Lee mention, the backup big men behind Noah and Horford also were NBA drafts. Florida, that team was so well-rounded. They could beat you inside. They could run with you. They could half court with you, and they could shoot. Don't forget, Lee Humphrey's running mate was Torian Green, who's on the staff, and Torian could heat up. He ran the offense as good as anybody as a point guard, but Torian could shoot it from three and get hot as well. Oh, by the way, some guy named Corey Brewer. As a look back, that Florida team that went back-to-back national titles in basketball, when they all finally came out, and I can't remember the order, Horford, Noah, and Corey Brewer went 3, 6, and 9, I think it was. They all went in the top 9 picks, 3 in the top 9 picks. Maybe it's not X's and O's as much as it's Jimmy's and Joe's. All right, fun segment with Lee Humphrey. We'll bring him on as we did all of last year, talking Gator basketball and basketball pretty much across the board. All right, let's take a break, come back, and look at some stuff, including some potential bowl matchups. You know, Selection Sunday's coming up. We know who's playing in Saturday's conference championship games. We've got a good feeling of what Selection Sunday will be. That'll come out Sunday. And then I think, if I'm right, the bowl matchups get announced later that night. We'll take a look at some of the bowl matchups, maybe from a SEC standpoint. Won't look at all the bowls, obviously, but what are some of the bowls that have intriguing conference matchups and who might represent, for instance, the SEC in this bowl game if they have to play the ACC or the Big Ten? We'll get some intriguing bowl matchups on the other side. Terry Norvelle coming to you live from Sliders Oyster Bar. The best seafood, the freshest seafood can always be found. You know it by now. They carry the Safe Harbor seafood. Nobody does it better. From the dock to your plate, just like that. Can't get any fresher. And they prepare it to your specifications here at Sliders Oyster Bar.
At Southeast Orthopedic Specialists, we know pain and injuries can stop you from doing what you love. This is why our board-certified orthopedic specialists offer the latest in both non-surgical and surgical treatment options and create a treatment plan tailored to your unique lifestyle and goals. So, whether it is a sports injury or that nagging pain that's keeping you from doing what you love, our team has the right treatment for you. For more information or to schedule an appointment online, visit our website.
Finally, a family atmosphere, kid-friendly restaurant with a real sports bar feel. Bricks Jack's Beach features all of that and a large, climate-controlled covered patio with misting fans and heaters for all seasons. Mix in an extremely diverse menu that features the most quality and affordable steak at the beach, and there's no reason not to enjoy your next lunch, dinner, happy hour, or big sporting event at Bricks Jack's Beach, 300 2nd Street North in Jacksonville Beach. See you at Bricks Jack's Beach.
You really got to hand it to him. Hold on.
The previous play is under further review.
I'm not sure what he could review, but okay. Sure has been a while. Dine in at Hurricane Grill and Wings for the football season. Well, there he is. Oh, what is that?
The Action Sports Jax 24/7 network is streaming. I'm Stuart Weber, and I'm here to teach you a nice 3-step process on how you can watch all your favorite programming from the Brent and Austin Show every weekday 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. or the Cup Date with me. It's fantastic. We talk NASCAR. It's a great time. Wednesdays at 1 o'clock. All right, first step, easy. Download the Action News Jax app. You probably already have it downloaded on your phone, so you might already have that one taken care of. Step 2, see that stack of pancakes up there? You click that stack of pancakes, and it's going to bring down step number 3, which is a full screen of all the different streams that you can click on, including the Action Sports Jax 24/7 stream. You click that, the video's rocking and rolling on your mobile device. You're watching all the shows you want to, and you're having a good time. You can also do it on your smart TV with the Action News Jax Now app. I do it on my Samsung TV at home. It's a great way to watch it on a nice, large screen for all the content. That's the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network. Hope you can find it.
You trust CGC to make your water great, and now you can trust CGC with your plumbing needs as well. Fast, convenient scheduling, licensed and insured. A quick call away at 904-552-1242.
You never know when you're going to have an issue with a shower, toilet, or maybe it's a sink that sometimes is easy to fix. All right, let's be honest. I'm not fixing anything. I'm totally staging this because when I have a plumbing problem, I call CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing.
Trained professionals, transparent pricing, customer satisfaction. Small problem or even a bigger issue. Maybe you need a new tankless water heater or something a bit more intricate. The experts with 25 years of experience at CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing can do it all. Call 904-552-1242 or visit cgcwater.com. That's 904-552-1242 or cgcwater.com. CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing, an authorized independent Connecticut dealer. Florida license number CFC 1432579.
So some other news as we welcome you back to a Thursday edition of the Young and Norvelle Show from the patio at Sliders Oyster Bar down here in Neptune Beach. You know we're here every Thursday by now. We have a great time down here, great hospitality, the best seafood you can find. I guarantee you in our area it will be right here at Sliders. They carry the Safe Harbor seafood from the Safe Harbor seafood docks are right there. I'm telling you, it comes from the ocean to your plate about as quick as possible, unless you're cooking it on the boat, for God's sakes. Come check it out. You probably know about it. The Oyster Bar is famous, obviously. Sliders Oyster Bar. Seafood, fresh catch. They've got some non-seafood for somebody in the party that might not want seafood that day or that night, but what a fun atmosphere and a tremendous menu. Safe Harbor seafood all over the menu at Sliders Oyster Bar. Terry Norvelle here. We'll go until about 6 o'clock. Tomorrow we're live again at Jacks Beach as we will be one day away from Selection Sunday. Zach, are you jacked about Selection Sunday? I mean, I think it's just going to be neat. College basketball is so exciting on Selection Day. Now, they have a lot more teams to pick and get them in and bracket them up. But, Zach, I'm jacked about that. I think that TV show is going to be so much fun to watch. I know, it's a lot better when your favorite team is in it, but there's still some we pretty much know the teams, don't we, Zach? There are going to be,
Feels
but
like
we
it.
don't know officially where they're going to be bracketed at and who
Seems
they
like-
may run into, right?
Seems like Clemson's about the only one that could really move in
They're the
with the
swing.
win. Yeah, they're against
Yeah,
SMU.
they're the swing, right?
Yeah.
So catch me up. Let's walk through this. If Clemson did pull the upset
Mhm.
and knocked off SMU, Clemson automatically gets in as a conference champion, right? So they're in.
Right.
SMU probably doesn't get in, right? The ACC is just not going to get a second team, are they? Or will they still get in? And what does that do for, say, Alabama?
I've heard it both ways. I've heard it that SMU would get in anyway, and I've heard that
Yeah.
Alabama would take SMU's spot. So one of those scenarios. I mean, obviously, but I mean, it feels like Alabama would be the beneficiary if there were to be one. Yeah.
Yeah. And, Brent Beard was preaching all season long. He said, man, when push comes to shove, that committee will probably, fair or foul, that committee will probably go with the biggest eyeballs and tradition. And my God, that's Alabama, right? I mean,
Yeah.
they're going to win that
by
battle.
and large. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying it's fair, right? I'm not saying it's fair, but you would think that would be Alabama getting that nod. Looking at the ACC, and if they only get one team in, isn't this a carbon copy of the reason FSU wants to get out? Right? FSU's been saying basically our conference hasn't done their diligence and kept our conference competitive enough. And isn't this the prime reason why FSU is getting out of the conference, right?
Yeah, it seems like it, even though, I mean, I was honestly thinking from the other standpoint, if I'm the Gamecocks, I would rather be in the ACC like Clemson is so that I can just hop and skip my way to the championship.
Yeah. Well,
that would kind of.
But again, Florida State's whole basis, and Miami is falling behind FSU going, now we see what FSU is talking about. The problems, Zach, is when, let's say it goes to 14 and, you're not going to go 12-0 every year. You can have a good, look at South Carolina. You can have a good year and be 9-3. Well, the 9-3 teams are going to be the final 2 or 3 at large, even when they go to 14. Would you agree? They're going to be the last ones to get picked at 9-3.
You'll be on the bubble teams.
On the bubble. And when it comes to the bubble, you basically have to walk them down the model runway and show off what you got. Well, the ACC, if you're FSU, they're worried about all the years down the road when they're not 12-0, but when they're 9-3 and they don't get in because their conference punishes them, which it looks like it's going to do to Miami as well.
Yeah, probably. I mean, if FSU's going 2-10 in the ACC, I can only imagine what their record would be in the SEC, though. So I just don't really know. Like, I understand the logic that you're saying here, but I just don't really know if that should be there. I think they just need to focus on them and just working their program to getting better more than jumping ship and going different. I think the ACC is plenty good enough. Part of the reason why the ACC is down and Miami's schedule is so frowned upon is because FSU is down. If FSU themselves were better, the conference as a whole could be better.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah. And and Notre Dame only plays 5, and if you're unlucky enough, as Clemson, now you look back, Clemson could have used a game with Notre Dame and a win, right? Had they played Notre Dame and got a win, they didn't play them this year.
Probably, but I mean, at the end of the day, they've just kind of hopped and skipped their way to the ACC championship on having really a less than stellar season, and that's why I say, the easier path is definitely the ACC over the SEC.
How about the way they backdoored it? How about the way they backdoored into their championship game?
Yeah, I heard it described as a potential backdoor berth if they were to get in, which I'm not so sure if I like the vision that paints. But yeah, the backdoor berth is what Clemson could be looking at.
Yeah. Hey, we've been talking about some college football news and notes. We talked about Eric Bieniemy at UCLA getting released after 1 year as the offensive coordinator. Zach, you remember Bieniemy? Remember his name popped up for every open NFL job for about 12 years, and he never got it. Went to college. He's fired after 1 year. Isn't that weird?
That's crazy. I don't know if he just rubs people the wrong way or what. Because the argument was, I know you said the other argument was that he potentially interviewed poorly, which I know that was definitely a narrative that was with him. But another one is that people didn't like to give him a ton of credit for what he did in Kansas City because A, they had Patrick Mahomes, and then B, and Andy Reid basically is the coordinator. They basically ran his system. So, how much credit does the OC really deserve in that scenario? But yeah, I thought that he would be. I thought that he would be successful at the college level. It might be hard as a coordinator. He should have taken the path of trying to be a head coach at a lesser program than trying to be the OC at UCLA. Because I think that his stature would have been good for recruiting. You can just say, I coached Patrick Mahomes. I think that's a good enough thing to say to recruit a quarterback.
That wouldn't stink.
Yeah, but there's something's definitely strange. Like he almost has to just have some type of personal issue with people where he works with, or like how he interviews wrong. It almost has to be something there where he rubs people the wrong way or something, because it was just a real quick tie cutting. Yeah.
And UCLA, they weren't great, but they weren't terrible under a first-year coach that's trying to, put it back together a little bit. Other college football news and notes. Zach, you and I were talking during the break, and I want to make sure we get to it. Have you heard that there's, and this is making some legitimate outlets, there's talk, number one, that Trevor Etienne, the running back at Georgia now by way of Florida, it looks like he's healthy and will be available, which, Georgia's had a lot of running backs banged up all year. They've had a lot of guys, just got Robinson back with a turf toe. But there's talk he'll be ready and available to play Saturday, and I guess as deep as they go. But there's talk that he may be jumping back into the portal again. Did you hear that?
Yeah. I think the rumor started as early as about a week ago or so. People have talked about potential landing spots. This is crazy. His career could potentially be that he played college football at the University of Florida, at the University of Georgia, and Ohio State. I see Ohio State as a landing spot. I see Clemson as a landing spot. So just huge blue blood football programs.
Yeah. I saw the same list, and I think you're leaving one out. I saw a list that said if ETN does go back in the portal, a couple, 2 or 3 of his landing spots, as you said, Ohio State, Clemson got the tie with his brother, right? Florida's name was mixed in there again. Did you
That'd
see
be
that?
strange. I don't really see that happening, but I mean, anything's possible.
It's
I guess
been done before. It's been done before. Ole Miss has a good running back, Henry Parrish, that 3 years ago was a good. I mean, he got a bunch of carries for Lane Kiffin, Ole Miss. Portaled out, went to Miami, played a bunch for Miami, and he just portaled back to Ole Miss this past year and played a bunch. But ETN's name is mentioned. Florida's mentioned. I saw Florida, Clemson, Ohio State.
Clemson makes a lot of sense with his brother having gone there.
Yeah, Clemson does. Just unique, just really unique in this portal area. But Georgia's getting some of their younger backs healthy, and he may say, "Wait a minute, I may get squeezed out of here." With some hot shots. Zach, how did South Carolina do in the recruiting rankings? Have you had a chance to look at like all the different little ranking guys?
No, that's not really something that I've followed too closely. I know that Florida has flipped everyone under the sun, and Coach Billy Napier seems to be doing really well. I know that I didn't see the Gamecocks on that top 10 list like where Florida was, but no, I haven't really paid that much attention to it, honestly.
This is just a side story. I'm watching all that great college basketball last night, Zach, and I'm watching, I guess Gator Game was still on, and a commercial comes up, and they're running the scroll, and it just catches my eye. They threw a score. It was the Lakers playing the Heat last night, and they threw a score up, and the Heat were, the Heat, the score I saw, you had 4 minutes left in the third quarter, okay? So they had the entire fourth quarter plus 4 minutes. The Heat already had 94 points. The Heat beat the Lakers last night, and LeBron by 41. Zach,
yeah, that's ridiculous. I would imagine that it probably is they just happen to hit all their 3-pointers because every NBA game is just a 3-point contest at this point. But yeah, that's crazy to blow out LeBron James like that, and his I guess it was at Miami and his return to Miami. That's that will catch your eyeball on a Tuesday night or Wednesday night.
One of their deep shooters is Tyler Hero. You remember him from Kentucky. He hit 7 in a row at one point, seven straight that he took. Not every time down court, but he hit 7 straight. There's been an argument between Shaq and Steph Curry. They've been going at it the last couple of years. Shaq thinks, and keep in mind Shaq, 7'1", huge guy, down low, post player. Yeah. Shaq really doesn't like where the NBA game is at right now, and they've been going back and forth. But yeah, the argument is it's just a game of horse. It's a 3-point shot game of horse.
There's definitely something to that argument.
Yeah. And, you don't want to punish guys for improving their long-range shot, but there's a viral video you can catch, and I saw it this week. It popped up. I might have saw it yesterday, definitely within a day or two. Zach, there's a video, and it's titled Why I Hate the NBA.
Oh, I've seen this. I've seen this circling around.
Have you seen it?
Oh, yeah.
What is that? That's probably 5 trips on each side of the court, missed 3-point
just jacking
bomb,
up
rebound.
3s, 0 cuts to the basket, 0 screens, 0 nothing. Just out there just standing around.
And isn't it? It's at least 5 possessions on each end of the court. Dribble, shoot, miss, rebound, 1 pass, get it to a 3-point, and they missed 5 each. It was terrible.
Yeah, that's how we used to play during gym time in my high school, and the coach would get really mad at us and be like, someone's got to run, someone's got to do something, someone's got to cut to the basket. Like, what are you guys doing?
Yeah, no doubt. Zach, I want to look into these potential bowl matchups, and really from the SEC point of view, I'm looking around here, and obviously there's a lot of tie-ins. So you can't just kind of go Colorado and Florida would be a good game, right? You got to look down and say, okay, find a bowl game that ties in SEC and Big 12, right? There's not a lot, but looking around, some of the more intriguing bowl games that SEC schools could go to, not the big playoff games, okay? You know that. That's
right.
Put that on the side. Yeah. Great. Birmingham Bowl, obviously in Birmingham, Alabama. ACC, that could easily be an ACC SEC. You look around also, Citrus Bowl in Orlando, Big Ten SEC, and that's Florida's been in that a million times over the years, playing Iowa and playing Michigan. Gasparilla Bowl, they can choose from ACC, SEC, Conference USA, and AAC. And the reason they go that deep, by the time they pick, there may not be any great teams left, right? So they may not want to get the seventh team in the SEC. Yeah, they may want to get the second team in Conference USA instead of the 8th team in the SEC. But there's been a lot of talk, Zach, among Gator Nation. Hey, how about the Gasparilla Bowl in Tampa, Florida and like South Florida? I've heard that. South Florida just lost their last game. But
that makes sense.
You also, Zach, say that again.
I would have said, yeah, that matchup would make sense. Yeah.
But you also, where I'm going with it, you also got to look ahead to next year's schedule for everybody, because Florida, I think, opens up with South Florida. So you're not going to play back-to-back games, right?
Yeah. Didn't Georgia and Clemson do that?
They might have, but I think that's Georgia Clemson.
Well, yeah.
But that's Georgia Clemson, not South. Here's another one. There's talk. You hear Gator Nation saying, hey, how about this? Since Miami's out of the playoff, how about Florida Miami in a rematch? Well, keep in mind, Florida and Miami play game. Well, let me finish that. Florida Miami play game number 2 next year. So, do you really want Florida and Miami?
That doesn't bother me as much. Yeah, I feel like the teams will be so different. Like Cam Ward will be gone.
But what I'm trying to get out here is, do you really want, in basically one calendar year, Florida and Miami to play 3 times?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that'd be cool.
I don't
yeah,
know.
why is that bad?
I don't know.
Oh, you don't want the Gators to go 0-3 in 12 months against the Hurricanes?
Easy, South Carolina. Remember, you've won nothing ever. Okay. Gator Bowl
won 9 games this year.
Gator Bowl, SEC, ACC. Gator Bowl's in a position. I think if I was making the call right now, I go get Florida and I go get Georgia Tech. I think that's a wonderful Georgia
that'd be
Tech
a good matchup.
I think that'd be a good matchup. Florida's and Lagway is going to sell a ton of tickets. I predict that's going to be the matchup. That's what I predict in the Gator Bowl. Las Vegas Bowl. I think didn't Florida go to the Las Vegas Bowl and get drilled by Oregon?
Yeah, It was about 5 or 6 years ago, maybe.
Yeah. So that's an SEC Pac-12, and keep in mind the Pac-12 only has 2 teams, but they get to use the old Pac-12 teams as well if needed. Did you know that? The Pac-12.
I did not know that. The whole thing is silly. What? So they can take who left? They can take USC. They can take Oregon. I mean, they wouldn't take Oregon, but you know what I mean. Oh, okay. How long is that? Is that just like for a few years?
I think that's only for a year or 2. Yeah. When this worked out. The Liberty Bowl, decent little lower rank bowl, SEC Big 12. Now that is where you could theoretically Florida, Colorado, but is the Gator Bowl is a bigger boy than the Liberty Bowl, right? The Gator Bowl would not let Florida go to the Liberty Bowl, would they? Wouldn't the Gator Bowl snatch Florida up before they go to the Liberty Bowl?
Probably. I don't really know the tiers on this, but that sounds right.
Yeah. So there's one. Music City Bowl, SEC Big 10, decent game, Nashville, great city. And then a couple more.
I would really like to see the Gamecocks play Colorado, if that's possible.
That'd be kind of neat. All that defense.
Yeah, I think that they could really give Shador a hard time.
Yeah, all that defense against all that offense.
Yeah.
Tampa Bay, the Tampa Bowl, Raymond James Stadium, SEC Big 10, and that could be or Notre Dame or an ACC school. So that's one of those because and then the Texas Bowl, SEC Big 12, SEC Big 12. Now the bowl games will get announced Sunday night, right after the selection.
Yeah, Sunday night.
Yeah, so we'll know the bowl games. Man, there's a lot coming up. You've got Championship Saturday. You've got Selection Sunday. You've got Bowl Selection Sunday. And the portal opens Monday, Zach. Monday.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, people are going to be jumping left and right. I mean, hopefully, it feels like Billy's on the right side of the portal. It feels like he's getting more than he's losing.
Zach, we got a few minutes before the top of the hour. Then I want to get into I teased a little bit the biggest, and I think you've probably figured it out. Probably the biggest game that has shaped college football where we're at playoff-wise happened on this date in 1992. But, Zach, before we get into that, what do you think the path is? Is there a quick path? And I know it's just subjective. We're both going to give our opinions. Is there a quick path for Florida State to get out of the damn crater that they're down in right now? Is there a quick path?
Man, it's tough. I think that the path would be to somehow get Coach Deion Sanders to be their head coach, which is what they really should have done in the last hiring cycle. That would be the path.
Yeah, maybe.
I think they have to make a
Maybe.
drastic change. Like something has to be different. Like I saw the commit. He was an offensive lineman from Rains High School. He committed to LSU.
Yeah.
And he had a quote.
Thomas.
Right, and he had a quote that said, "It's a shame I couldn't go to FSU." As in, he really like it. It sounded like he grew up wanting to go to FSU, but I don't know if it was an NIL, an offering, or just because their program is such in shambles right now that he doesn't want to risk his career to go there.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's a real legitimate problem. Once you get a reputation of being the toxic program in the state, it's hard to come up. It is hard. That is the hardest thing, especially in college football, because in college sports, everything is such a ball. Once the ball gets rolling, like once Clemson gets to the top of the mountain and they win the national championship, then it's easier to get back to it. And so the same thing is the opposite. Once you're in the ditch, you're in the gutter like FSU is, it's hard to crawl up out of that. So they got to do something drastic, I think.
Yeah. They're facing and I don't want to be gloom and doom guy, but I'm trying to be honest guy. They're facing some issue, let's go through a few of the issues FSU's facing. Number one, if you're having a 2-10 season, as Florida State did, and the wheels were off, it's much better to have that in year 1 or year 2 of the new coach. This is year 5 of Mike Norvelle. You're supposed
these
to
are his
have
guys.
Yeah. So you're supposed to have that. It hurts not being 2-10 in year 1 or 2. Number one, he just blew out his 2 coordinators and wide receiver coach a week or so ago, right? So. The guys they just signed, they don't really know who is going to be their didn't know until a couple days ago, right? They got antsy, and they didn't even know until they got named. So they've got 2 new offensive and defensive coordinators, new wide receiver. And, Zach, I know Mike Norvelle did a lot of damage a couple of years ago, and note that down, circle that, a couple of years ago in the portal. He did a lot of damage. Jared Verse, NFL guy, Fisk, the interior guy. The 2 receivers he got, Wilson and Coleman. Hell, the running back, Benson, came from Oregon, right? He did a lot of damage. But, Zach, Mike Norvelle did damage a couple years ago when FSU was not rock bottom. I don't know how many portal guys are going to pick up the portal phone when they see it ringing and it says 2-10 FSU, dumpster fire, new coordinators, bad conference. Right? I don't know how he gets out of this quickly.
No, it's gonna be really hard. They're gonna have to, legitimately come up with a truckload of NIL money, like Ohio State level money to compete. Like I think that's the only way. It's not gonna be on, what we've done or the culture we've built, anything. No, it's gonna have to be the almighty dollar or doing some type of drastic coaching change.
It's tough, and I don't know their roster top to bottom, but you also got to worry, obviously, with 85 guys on scholarship, they've got a couple of good players, right? Their team wasn't good, but they've got
they brought
players
in a lot of transfers last offseason.
And that just played for them. Even though they were 2-10, they had players that were good players. You with me? Can they keep them all? Zach, they also
I'm thinking no. I'm thinking it's going to be.
Guys they've got.
Yeah, I think they're going to be losing a few. I think there's going to be a scattering. And so you're going to have to bring in a whole, I think that it's just, I don't know, it's going to get really rough. It's going to be hard for them to maintain anything or build on anything. And I feel like the freshman quarterback they played, I feel like he showed some promise. He just had zero offensive line protection, and he's got thrown into the wolves.
He's a guy, got to make sure you keep him. You don't need to start over at quarterback. It also doesn't help FSU's cause. The rebound that Florida had didn't help, and the new emergence of Miami doesn't help, right? I mean, Miami,
absolutely.
the last 6 weeks, Florida got a lot of that didn't help FSU. I'll tell you, it reminds me a little bit, if you could correlate it a little bit to how are the Jaguars going to get out of their crater that they're in?
But the NFL has these things that are in place that the Jaguars are are able to take advantage of, like having the first round draft pick, whereas college football doesn't have that. Like college doesn't have the salary cap. It's going to be tough. It really is, because kids are going to want to play with DJ Lagway. And the statement that Scott Strickland put out saying that they're behind Billy Napier, that's going to give them the reassurance that, he's not getting dumped. And that gives them the reassurance that it is a program that they are going to build on. And so, Florida is trending upwards. Miami is already upwards, and I don't see any reason for them to take a step back. So, it's going to be really, really hard for Florida State to jump over those guys.
Again, I think one huge thing, and this is going to get used against FSU, I think it's a huge thing that FSU is in the predicament that they're in, and it's not year 1 or 2 of Norvelle, it's year 5. I think that's a big deal. He's had 5 years to get this thing.
Yeah, it feels like that should be the tipping point. Like you've got a full class. Like you've seen them from freshmen to seniors and then some. And it's all your guys, and the results are what they are. You're out there, you're getting out physicaled by Georgia Tech, and you're just getting out finessed by everyone else. It's just they didn't even score 20 points until like this next last week of the season. Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Over 21 or whatever that is. And I know we got a long way to go. There's going to be a lot of roster change, but I don't think they play a warm-up game. FSU's first game next year, I'm almost sure, is at home against Alabama. Alabama rolls in.
Yeah, that's no good. And it's not like they didn't exactly come out into a hot start in their opener against Georgia Tech across the pond. So it's not like they have a reputation of starting good.
Yeah, and I don't know. I guess this is bash FSU, but right now, man, it looks rough. And Zach, I don't know how much this factors in, but don't forget that negative story is going to rear its head at some point. FSU's still in a lawsuit with their conference. Where are they going to land? Where's their home going to be? Are they just going to have to tuck? Are they going to have to tuck tail and stay in the ACC? And they've already told the world. It feels to me like
that's their best option.
Yeah, but they've already told the world that they don't like the ACC. They think that they've told. If I'm recruiting against FSU and they stay in the ACC, I go back to that lawsuit that was drafted up, and they basically said, we're trying to get in because we hate our conference because they haven't stayed as good as the other conferences, right? That's the genesis of their anger. That while the SEC improved and the Big Ten improved, and you can argue that the Big 12 has improved, our conference has done nothing, and it's going to cause us to get squeezed out when it comes to beauty contests. And college football is still about beauty contests, right? Still about beauty contests.
Oh, yeah. That's how Boise State's getting a bye week.
Yeah.
Potentially.
Very interesting. All right, let's take a break, come back, kick off hour number 2. And I want to get into it. There was a very, very incredibly important football game and result. I've got to throw that in. A huge football game and result that happened on this date in 1992 that really has catapulted college football to where it's at now, where we do finally have a multiple team playoff, a double-digit team playoff. We'll talk about that. You may or may not remember it, and I don't think I'm making this bigger than it is. This was a monumental, risky decision that roundabout way it turned out perfect for college football. That kicks off hour number 2 on a Thursday. The Young and Norvelle Show coming to you live from Sniper's Oyster Bar.
Finally, a family atmosphere, kid-friendly restaurant with a real sports bar feel. Rick's Jack's Beach features all of that and a large, climate-controlled covered patio with misting fans and heaters for all seasons. Mix in an extremely diverse menu that features the most quality and affordable steak at the beach, and there's no reason not to enjoy your next lunch, dinner, happy hour, or big sporting event at Rick's Jack's Beach, 300 2nd Street North in Jacksonville Beach. See you at Rick's Jack's Beach.
For over 20 years, Southeast Orthopedic Specialists has been providing the highest level of orthopedic and spine care to patients throughout Northeast Florida. Now, we're making that same great care even more convenient with Southeast Orthopedic Specialists Direct, a walk-in clinic where you can be seen for pain or injuries with no appointment needed. Staffed by orthopedic physicians and specialists, we offer everything from diagnosis and treatment to imaging and bracing, all with no appointment needed. For more information, hours, and locations, visit our website.
You really got to hand it to him. Hold on.
The previous play is under further review.
I'm not sure what he could review, but okay. Sure has been a while. Dynamic Hurricane Grill and Wings for the football season. Well, there he is. Oh, what is that?
Hey everyone, Olivia Tasley here from Action Sports Jacks to tell you all the different ways you can watch our new 24/7 network. 3 easy steps. You don't even need a pen and paper to write it down. Step number 1, download the app. Search Action News Jacks in your app store either on your phone or your smart TV. Then, once you're on the app, click on that little drop-down menu in the upper left-hand corner with the 3 little lines. That'll show you these options, and boom, right here, click Action Sports Jacks 24/7, and you will be brought to our continuous stream channel. That app can be accessed through all these different platforms, whether you have Roku, Fire TV, Smart TV, Apple TV, or Google TV. You can find our app. Now, if you don't have access to the app, don't worry, we still got you covered. We're across all social media platforms from Facebook, Instagram, X, YouTube, Twitch. We have a podcast channel. Plus, check out our short reels on our TikTok. Action Sports Jacks 24/7. It's on all the time and everywhere.
Summertime means sizzling sales at Nimnik Buick GMC. The #1 Buick GMC dealer in Jacksonville has lots of inventory to choose from with their best price guarantee. Nimnik never charges above MSRP. You can save up to $10,000 off select new GMC Sierras or get rates as low as 1.9%.
You know, I'm a truck guy. GMC Sierra, my trim level is an SLT. This one's an Elevation. Pretty good looking color as well. So here at Nimnik Buick GMC, you have a lot to pick from. My father-in-law, he drives this, an Enclave, so I feel like that GMC in the family. 2025 is coming around the corner, which means it's almost time to close out those 2024s this summer.
You can schedule a test drive at NimnikBuickGMC.com, and while you're there, check your trade value and customize your payment options. Nimnik is there for you, even on Sundays. Visit the showroom on Phillips Highway or shop online at NimnikBuickGMC.com. Nimnik, your friends in the car business since 1941. GMC, we are professional grade.
All right, folks, let's get in the Wayback Machine and go back in college football history, as this is a huge week in college football. The conference championship games come up on Saturday. By the way, the SEC is at 4 o'clock, and then I think it's the ACC Big Ten. They're both at 8 o'clock. The Big 12, I think, is the early game, and then you've got the Mountain West and things like that. But the SEC plays at 4 o'clock. There was times I was at SEC Media Days, and, Zach, I got asking that question one time. When I was in Birmingham one year at SEC Media Days, because the SEC has played their championship game for a long time now at 4 o'clock, the 4 o'clock window. And I remember none of us could figure out what the deal was. I asked one time, Zach, I said, I talked to one of the officials there, the home office official, said, what's the deal with that? And their theory is, with the time difference, obviously, that they wanted their championship game, particularly when it was just a great game and it's coming down to the end. You know, those games are 3:45, 4 hours, those championship games. They're cramming halftime and they're cramming as many TVs. They want their game to be ending in that first primetime hour-ish. They want that game to be ending, not starting and going late night. They want it to be ending thinking that that'll catch the East Coast. They want their game finishing up 7:45, 8 o'clock in a just thrilling fourth quarter. And that way they'll catch some of that West Coast at 4. Most people were, college fans were watching. But I always thought it was interesting that they don't do the late night kickoff. They want that 4 o'clock. And they also, I think, that'll keep them as the only one in that time block. But it's very interesting that you would think the SEC would want that 8 o'clock kickoff. And there's a couple of them that kick off at 8 o'clock. All right, so let's talk about the game. And Zach, if you're there, I'm curious to see if you have seen. Have you seen the wonderful 30 for 30 about the first ever, not only in the SEC, but first ever in college football, the 1992 first SEC championship game? Have you ever seen that documentary? It's fabulous.
I have seen something like that on a loop in Spurrier's Gridiron Grill for the past 2 years on mute. But I haven't actually heard it, but I've seen them talk about it with the closed cap. But I've seen it a lot, though. I'm very familiar with the story, though. Yeah.
Well, a backstory and why the game happened. And I don't know if you realize the concept of the game nearly backfired and might have killed college football from advancing to a playoff. Here's what the deal was. Up until that time, there weren't conference championship games. You played your regular season, and you could have guys that tied or shared or won outright. So at the time, Roy Kramer, one of the more powerful, obviously, SEC commissioner at the time, he had an idea. And he noticed in the bylaws, the NCAA football bylaws, that it said if you have a conference with 12 or more teams, you have the right to split up in divisions if you so choose, and you can have an extra championship game. Nobody really knew that, So he finds that out, and he, along with many people, weren't real happy with the way college football just voted on championship games. He thought it was time to have another and crown a champion. So the SEC expanded, right? They brought in South Carolina. Remember, they expanded.
Yeah.
Who came in with South Carolina? Not Missouri. Arkansas.
Missouri was later. Arkansas sounds right.
South Carolina. So at the time, the SEC only had 10 teams, and the bylaws said you needed 12. And Kramer found this deep in the bylaws of college football. So they were probably going to expand anyway, but he goes and brings in South Carolina and Arkansas. That gets them to 12, and they split to an East and West. Nobody had ever done it before. And they said whoever wins the East will play whoever wins the West for the championship. That will determine the SEC championship. Now, the coaches did not like it at all because they were going, oh, boy, that's just one more game to lose. It's going to knock, the coaches. And in that loop, even I think Coach Spurrier wasn't crazy about it because they saw one more chance to lose your way out of, well, wait a minute. What if we're already 9-2 or 10-1? Let's just go take our chances with the vote and maybe go to the biggest bowl. But Roy Kramer thought that was the way to go, and he also thought that was the way to go to advance college football. You had to get out of the stupid voting, right? That's how they just named the mythical champion. So that year, Alabama was real good. They had Gene Stallings, and he had taken over because Alabama in the 80s couldn't find the right coach. They floundered around, so they get Gene Stallings. And by this time, this is about his third year at Alabama, and they were good. They were undefeated. They had two great defensive ends. They had a good, solid offense, great defense. Alabama 12-0, number one team in the nation. They rolled into Birmingham, where the first game was played, not Atlanta. It was in Birmingham,
right?
Where the headquarters of the SEC is at. Alabama rolls in. Well, 92 was Coach Spurrier's third year, and Florida took a step back, and everybody knew it. When Spurrier got there in 90, they had a talented team. He took over a really nice roster, right? He had good players, and Florida was like 9-2 year one in 90. 91, they were like 10-1, went to the Sugar Bowl. But everybody knew they were going to take a step back. They were good, but they lost all their better players. Florida has like an 8-3 season, but they win the East. You with me? So Florida's not a national power trying to get in the mix for the national title. They're good, not great. Shane Matthews in his third year quarterback, and they had Eric Red as a running back, but they lost 3 games. But they won the East, and that's what scared everybody. Everybody that was going into the championship game, it was undefeated number 1 Alabama against 8-3, probably 15th ranked Florida. If Alabama won, they were going to go, it's pretty obvious, they were going to go play in the Sugar Bowl, I think, against Miami. If both Alabama and Miami won, they were going to hold 1 and 2. They're going to go play for the national title. So Alabama really didn't need the game. They were 12-0, ranked 1 in the nation. Stay with me, right? But they had to go beat Florida, who was 8-3. If Florida won, they weren't going to play for the national title. They were going to a nicer bowl game. So that
Right.
was the consternation. Coaches, not just the Alabama coaches, but coaches across the board said, see, we just invited a chance to knock a big season out, right? That was their theory. And damn, if the game gets started, Alabama jumps up 14-0. Coach Spurrier might have done one of his greatest coaching jobs. He put in a neat little game plan. And damn, if Florida doesn't make a comeback, and Zach, they're leading the game. They end up taking the lead and tied. Florida nearly won the game. Alabama won on an interception miracle at the end. Had Florida won the game, that might have been the one and only conference championship game in the history of college football. They just said, to hell with that, man. All this thing does is knock you out. You see where I'm going, Zach?
Yeah, there was a lot of, and Patrick is joining us, as we can see. And yeah, there's a lot of concern that the SEC would cannibalize herself with that.
Exactly. That was also, that was the very first college football game that, on the record, had a built-in overtime. You had to go to overtime. College football used to not have overtime. You had a bunch of ties. But they had that. Had they been tied and it was 21-all late in the game, they would have had to go to overtime because they had to have a champion. They had to have a winner.
Right.
Anyway, that was this date in history in 1992. Patrick Young, you look very dapper today. Dapper. What are we doing here? You look great.
You know what day it is.
It's Thursday.
E.
Oh, you're going to call the Dolphin game tonight in basketball. Talk about it. Who are they playing? What do we got?
They have Florida Tech, the Florida Tech Panthers. So,
I like it. So do you know
Division II?
Do you know everything about the Florida Tech Panthers that you need to know as the TV analyst tonight? Do you know everything?
Yes, I do. Everything that I need to know about them. You said no, they're not very good. They're Division II.
How about the Dolphins? I know they got a nice win over Virginia Tech, right?
Yeah, they're coming off a tough, really bad performance against Georgia, though. So
I know what happened.
This should be a get right game for them.
Man, Georgia walked the dog on them, didn't they? I was stunned by
Walked the dog.
Like,
Yeah, beat them by 40.
Hey, Pat,
yeah, they beat them by 40.
You probably didn't get to hear, but I want to talk obviously about college basketball with Patrick Young, our co-host here on the show. Pat, we had Lee Humphrey on. Lee was wonderful, like we did all last year. Obviously, he called the game last night. We'll get into the SEC ACC challenge, but Florida started a little slow, but man, what a methodical just beat down of Virginia last night. Good win for the Gators.
Yeah, and it's good to see Virginia did have some fight, and they made a lot of tough shots early in that game. Yeah. That's what, and then Florida, their defense, Virginia's actually, they look to be a pretty decent defensive team. But I just think they don't have enough talent. Virginia doesn't have enough talent, and they had no answer for Walter Clayton. Man, is that guy not? He's like unconscious.
Yeah, I mean, gosh.
Like he shoots it so well from three, and he's at such a good pace. And my only concern, you just don't know what you're getting out of Ruben Chinyelu every game. The big guy. If they had Micah Handlogden, I would consider this team a top 5 team.
What in your opinion, the big man Ruben, do they need more points out of him, more presence out of him, more defense out of him? What do you think?
Points would help. I think points wise, like I'm gonna say 6 to 8 points a game. That's it. I'm not even asking for, they just don't throw the ball into him in the post. Like when he gets positioned, part of it's his fault in terms of like not being skilled enough yet. He's very raw. But he had a great game. I can't remember if it was against the Disney tournament. I can't remember if it was Wake Forest or the game against Wichita. But he had a great game, and I'm like, he doesn't even have to do all that. That is great, but we just need great rebounding. Him being able to finish and to be an option. Like the guy, you shouldn't throw the ball into the big guy and be like, "I'll make it back," or I just know he's gonna miss. Like you want to throw it in and say, "Oh no, he's got a chance to score," because he's so strong. He's so big and strong, and strong.
What you just described, though, what you want from him: 6 to 8 points, bunch of rebounds, presence. That's what Handlogden gave you, right? Handlogden gave you 8 to 10 points. He gave you 9, 10, 11, 12 rebounds. He gave you 3 blocked shots, too. Don't forget, he blocked shots back there, too. I mean, he wasn't the best.
He's definitely he wasn't as good as like Colin. Colin is probably the best. Castleton, the best shot blocker Florida's had in a while. But hey, Micah's better. He's a better shot blocker than Ruben Chinyelu is. Man, yeah, just really wish we had him out there. He would be. I just don't know what's this Florida team going to look like next year when he comes back. You're not going to have Walter and Will but man, I've loved. I had a chance to talk to one of the assistants, and he's just like, man, Will and Elijah, all they want to do is win. That's it. These guys, if they're not worried about accolade, they just want to win. So that's a great place for just giving Walter the reins of like, this is your team, bro. Like we just want to help you win. And we're gonna whatever that takes. Like Will Richard didn't score. He didn't have a good game yesterday, but they won. He's like, that's all I care about.
I know watching this first 9 games, 10 games. If I had to put one word on Florida's basketball team, and I mean this almost the entire roster, that group of 8 or so that play. Now, he's narrowing it down to about 8 now. He's got the 4 bigs. They get a couple guys off the bench big. They get Aberdeen. If I had to put one word on this team, top to bottom roster, they're fearless. I mean, they don't look at the scoreboard. And I like it. They're fearless, and they've got some score mentality, man. They really do. They're fearless.
Yeah. Gosh, I don't think Coach White. He had a guy. Trey Mann became that guy his second year, but in terms of a guy like Walter, I don't think Mike White ever had a guy like Walter outside of Trey Mann.
I agree. They've got multiple guys that have, and Pat, you played so long. Some guys can put the ball in the basket, and some guys are scorers. I mean, they've got that scorer mentality.
Yes.
Martin's got that.
That's what I'm going to see. That's what I'm going to see from Robert McRae. Robert McRae here at JU. He's the preseason. He's only a junior, but he's preseason ASUN Player of the Year. And this dude can flat out just score the ball.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how. He just straight up just is a pure scorer.
He put the ball in the basket against Florida last year.
Yeah.
Florida beat them bad, but he put the ball in the basket. I asked Lee Humphrey this. He agreed with me. I think you and I have kicked it around with regard to the Gator basketball team. I know the percentage as a team shooting the three-point shot is low. I still think this team's got good shooters. I think that's another thing I think is going to make Florida real scary. Yeah. I think the ball's going to start going in for the Gators.
I don't think they care about the numbers games in terms of percentage. They care. He cares about getting them up. He wants to get them up. Yeah. Get up as many as you can. Yeah, as many possessions that. Yeah. Which I do. I respect it because, the three ball is just the ultimate neutralizer or bring you back into a game. Like it's the 3-pointer is a game changer. It was at one point, early in the game, like Virginia kept knocking down threes, and I'm like, I hope they realize, 3 is more than 2, because we gotta start. I was like, we gotta start either getting some stops or knocking some shots down, because these guys kept knocking down threes, and they were able to do both eventually.
It was nice, the new coach for Virginia to let that team play like that, because a lot of times Virginia would just plod down the court in the old days, and just kind of.
Well, he still has that imprint. Like, they had many possessions where the clock went all the way down to 28 seconds before they took a shot. Many, but I was like, well, that's Virginia basketball. They're gonna try to pound you down and say, this team, they are not gonna guard us for 30 seconds, and if they do, we're gonna get to the glass and get offensive rebound. They didn't rebound well offensively in the first half, but Florida did. In the second half, they rebounded really well offensively. It was a good game, man. I wish you could have seen my outfit. You saw my outfit.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many just compliments or just like, I can't believe you're wearing pajamas to the game. I'm like, these aren't pajamas.
It was great.
In the description, it says sweatsuit.
It was great.
It does fit. I'm like, but if the comfort level is very high, like pajamas, yes.
I bet it was nice when you were coming home too, driving home.
Oh, Oh yeah, absolutely, super comfortable, man.
Let me ask you this, Pat.
$30.
Did you see? I mean, I would have probably said I think the SEC is going to win the challenge against the ACC in 2 days, over 2 days, but I didn't see 14-2. And Patrick, many of the games that the SEC won, they were blowouts. Did you? I mean, blowouts. Did you see? If it ended up 14-2.
Yeah, and I don't know what the ACC's got to say. And it's not like, Clemson got a good win. They're a good team with some veterans there over Kentucky. Kentucky didn't shoot well. I think maybe they got outmatched just in general. And then who's our other loss? Our other loss
Auburn
is Auburn. Oh yeah, man. Yeah, Duke played them well, man. Duke played them really well last night. Yeah,
good game.
But that's what you can expect. Top teams going on the road. You're always going to get the best shot from whoever is hosting you.
I'll tell you one game that really summed up the entire challenge, if you ask me, was unranked Mississippi State bombed 18th ranked Pittsburgh. Unranked Mississippi State.
Oh yeah, they walk the dog.
Yeah, and I'm telling you, there were only about 3 games that were less than 10 points. The SEC bombed them across the board.
Yeah, I know, man. 14, and that's one thing. Greg Sankey's just like, ha 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 ha.
Yeah, very very impressive.
Yeah, really can make. Yeah, really have a chance to win 10 games or have 10 teams in the 10 teams in the tournament this year. Oklahoma and Texas, they're good teams too.
They're talking 12. There's
12. Wow.
12, 18, 12 in. Patrick, rankings really don't matter. Obviously, there's a wonderful tournament in college basketball. All you can do is make it. But do you realize if Tennessee wins, I guess they probably got one more. No, the rankings will come. No, they have one more game. Tennessee's probably going to be number 1 in the nation. Kansas got beat. Yeah. Auburn got beat. Tennessee may go number 1 in the nation.
Kansas got beat badly. I think it really did. It beat so badly.
They really did. It's been a tough week for the top-ranked teams up there with UConn going down 3 of 4. Pat, I don't know if you noticed this, and I know you need to get to your game you're about to call over at JU. Lee and I talked about this. The SEC, it's kind of a weird year with the schedule because you're adding teams, and you got to kind of massage your, anytime you bring new teams in, and you went sideways on us, Pat. There we go. Now you're still sideways on us. Pat, are you sideways? Look. I see you sideways. And we lost your volume. And we lost you. Now I wanted to run this by Pat as he's getting ready to call his game. I hate the fact that Florida only plays Kentucky once in the regular season. It's at Kentucky. Florida only plays Auburn once in the regular season, and it's at Auburn. Florida only plays Alabama once in the regular season. It's Alabama. They do play Tennessee twice, home and away. But, man, I do not like that schedule. All right, Zach, let's see if we can rehook up with let's take a break, come back, start landing the plane here on a Thursday live from Sliders Oyster Bar. Patrick Young may be able to jump back on for one more quick segment, and we'll talk some more basketball as Pat's about to call the JU basketball game on ESPN Plus, I do believe that is, on the TV side. So we'll take a break, come back, reset the show as we start landing the plane on a Thursday live from Sliders Oyster Bar.
For those dealing with pain from a sports injury, arthritis, or spine condition, Southeast Orthopedic Specialists offers innovative new non-surgical options. Our regenerative medicine treatments, including platelet-rich plasma and other regenerative treatments, use your body's own restorative cells to aid in treating injuries. These procedures are performed in our offices and typically require minimal downtime. If you want to get back to doing what you love, our regenerative treatment options may be right for you. For more information or to schedule an appointment online, visit our website.
Finally, a family atmosphere, kid-friendly restaurant with a real sports bar feel. Rick's Jack's Beach features all of that and a large, climate-controlled covered patio with misting fans and heaters for all seasons. Mix in an extremely diverse menu that features the most quality and affordable steak at the beach, and there's no reason not to enjoy your next lunch, dinner, happy hour, or big sporting event at Rick's Jack's Beach, 300 2nd Street North in Jacksonville Beach. See you at Rick's Jack's Beach.
Since 1936, Procter Ace has been proudly helping Jack's with all your home and garden projects. Whether you need tools, paint, plumbing supplies, or expert advice, we've got what you need to get the job done right. Looking to brighten your yard? Visit our garden center for plants, tools, and everything to make your outdoor space flourish. You're not just shopping here, you're part of our community. So come in today and let us help you tackle your next project with a smile. After all,
Ace is the place with the helpful hardware, folks.
When I say it means something to me, gentlemen, it means something to me.
High school football is back and it's bigger than ever. Welcome to the Friday Night Zone Blitz.
It is bigger than a game.
Watch the biggest games each week live as the action unfolds with instant reaction and analysis from our Hall of Famer, Kevin Sullivan. It starts with live look-ins at the top matchups, including our Jaguars Prep Whataburger Game of the Week, and that is just the beginning of 4 straight hours of coverage. From 8 to 10:30, the Friday Night Zone Blitz is streaming on our Action News Jax app and online. At 10:30, the Friday Night Blitz you know and love. A half hour of highlights from around the area. 11 o'clock, we shine the spotlight on the bands that pump up the crowd. 11:15, it's time to blitz through the highlights online and on air. Then 11:35, back to the stream to break down the night's results with a reaction from local coaches. 4 straight hours of high school football on the Friday Night Zone Blitz. Only on Action Sports Jax 24/7.
Baker Sports is local sports. Uniforms from Pop Warner and Little League to travel ball, high school, and college. They make you look good. They help you play good. Baker Sports has been helping families make memories that will last a lifetime with their Baker's Buckets. We've got a lot of these filled with baseballs and softballs in the garage. I've been throwing batting practice to Ty and Kaylee for years and also sit on the Baker's Bucket, catching Kaylee while she practices her pitching. Baker Sports is homegrown, and a lot of employees that used to play on local ball fields now work for Baker Sports, now helping you look good, play good, and make memories of your own. Visit Bakersport.com to see what Baker Sports can do for you. Custom apparel, Nike, Under Armour, Adidas, embroidery, screen printing, and more. Baker Sports is local sports, from Jacksonville to anywhere in the Southeast. Bakersport.com.
All right, a lot going on here coming up over the weekend around mainly college football. Certainly we have the NFL winding down, final 4-ish weeks or so in the NFL regular season. But boy, college football takes center stage. Conference championship games Saturday, pretty much wall-to-wall, starting around noon. And, you know, obviously the Big Four, Mountain West will get some viewing with UNLV taking on Boise State. As we welcome you back, Thursday edition. Terry Norvelle sitting here live as Sliders is starting to fill up. A good temperature right now. Just feels pretty good. It's not really cold as it's been the last few evenings. So if you're in the area looking for some seafood, get on down to Neptune Beach and visit Sliders Oyster Bar. And then we talked about Selection Sunday. First time we'll really have a basketball-like feel for the first time with 12 teams in the playoff and trying to figure out where they're actually going to officially be bracketed. I mean, if you've read enough stuff the last week or so, you've seen Notre Dame, Bama, Notre Dame, somebody else. You've seen Tennessee playing Georgia, Georgia playing somebody else. So there is speculation, but we'll see where it plays out officially with the college football playoff being set on Sunday. Then the bowl games will get set that afternoon, evening. And then, of course, the portal opens up. Man, the portal is, gosh darn, nowadays as big as signing day. Obviously, the numbers aren't as big, but portal is more immediacy. Signing day is more building. But portal is, and the teams that use it well, they use it to polish off their roster. Signing day, yes, you can hit 2 or 3 or 4 home runs of guys that come in and play immediately, particularly with guys that come in so early now with January or early enrollee. But the concept will always be, I think, signing day, the high school kids building programs. Portal is finishing off, filling gaps, filling holes as you go. Speaking of early entries, I think Brent Beard was saying he has heard that Florida's class is looking at about 18 early entries. That is a big number to be coming into campus, into Gainesville in a few weeks. I mean, 18 of your brand new class means they'll be there. They'll get working out. They'll get acclimated to school. They'll go through the spring game. Unheard of that concept 25 years ago. But now kids, man, they start looking ahead and start taking summer classes, and they get out. But Florida is scheduled to have about 18. That is a really, really big number. All right, Zach, if you want to help me bash on Boise a little more, feel free. I'd love to hear your thoughts here. But, I mean, I don't have anything against Boise State, but I'm more of a guy. Do I like underdog stories? Yes. I think we all have a little place in our heart for underdog stories. I also think that you've got to be really careful in a lot of instances to reward the underdog story. A lot of times you have to squash a deserving story. And I kind of feel this way a little bit. And Boise State has a sexy player, and they're a good football team. They've lost one game. They're in their conference championship game. They only lost to Oregon by 3. They got a guy that may win the Heisman Trophy. I don't know if that should factor. Do they get one of the coveted spots? And again, they're trying to win their way in, but I don't even believe in the group of 5, the little handicap spot that they give to the group of 5. That's my biggest beef. So here's Boise. If they win their conference championship game, here's how they got to their conference championship game and would have won it. Here's the Boise State schedule. They opened up at Georgia Southern. That's Georgia Southern, not Georgia or Georgia Tech. Game 1, Georgia Southern. Game 2 at Oregon, lost by 3. Good game, great opponent. Portland State, Washington State, Utah State, Hawaii, UNLV, who they'll play again Saturday in a rematch, San Diego State, Nevada, San Jose State, Wyoming, and Oregon State. And that is basically the schedule that everybody in the Mountain West plays. It's not just a bash at Boise State, but it's a bash at the concept where we've got to put in a group of 5. I get that theory, but think about the teams that you're probably punishing. What did 9-3 South Carolina do wrong? What did 9-3 Ole Miss do wrong? I mean, they lost some games, but
well, the Gamecocks tried to block a quarterback after getting an interception. That's what they did wrong.
Yeah, but I mean, but here's okay. South Carolina, you just heard. I'm going to go down, Zach, real quick. Here's Boise State again, and they Georgia Southern, Oregon, Portland State, Washington State, Utah State, Hawaii, UNLV, San Diego State, Nevada, San Jose State, Wyoming, Oregon State. Here's South Carolina, okay? A little bit more difficult. Old Dominion, at Kentucky, LSU, Akron, Ole Miss, Alabama, Oklahoma, Texas A&M, Vandy, Missouri, Wofford, and Clemson. Those are so non-comparable, aren't they, Zach? Am I just?
Oh, yeah, I mean, I certainly think so. I think. I mean, you could both do the right thing and make an underdog story by putting the South Carolina Gamecocks in. They're one of the few programs you can do that with. There you go.
I mean, the minute it came out that there's going to also be a group of 5, I hate that. I hate that. And Zach, if Boise gets in and wins the national title, I'll stick by that. I think it's wrong.
So actually, like prior to like literally as early as this afternoon, I thought that the top 4 seeds were literally the SEC, ACC, Big 10, and Big 12. I didn't realize that was the higher seeded out of all, 10 conferences or whatever. That seems kind of crazy to me. I think it should be like the I mean, I feel like pretty much everyone knows those are the big four conferences. They're not exactly even, but I mean, they're clearly above the other ones.
And Zach, that what you just said and what we talked about at the beginning of the show, that's egregiously bad. That you could play that schedule in that conference and get a bye, Zach. That's egregiously bad.
I mean, I think so. Yeah. I mean, because one of those is going to get a bye, and it's going to be because they were arbitrarily, I guess not really arbitrarily, but they were ranked higher heading into the game, so therefore they just get it heading out of it.
I don't have the top 12 in front of me right now that just got revealed Tuesday, but I guess Iowa State and Arizona State are both behind Boise State.
Yeah.
They play each other. So whoever wins is not going to – if Boise wins their championship game and just say Arizona State wins theirs, Arizona State's not going to jump Boise. So Boise gets that fourth bye. Right? And Arizona State gets it
unless they really finagle the rankings and just make them arbitrarily jump them anyway. Because Boise State is currently 10 and Arizona State is currently 15. So, I mean, it could potentially happen where Boise State wins, but they don't win very handily, so they drop down to 12, and then Arizona State blows them out, so they jump up to 11. Maybe, but it doesn't seem likely, though. It seems like more than likely that Boise State just would get in.
You know what? Something just hit me, and I don't want to bash this program, but my God, I'm going to bring up something that nobody's brought up. And it goes under the how egregious the training wheel bid, right? I'm going to call it the training wheel bid, right? The group of five, they got training wheels. You feel me where I'm going?
Yeah, I understand.
Zach, how about this? And nobody's brought it up. How egregiously bad is it going to look if UNLV wins the game? Zach, UNLV will be in the playoff. Would they be in the playoff? No.
Well, they're ranked number 20.
But who gets?
So they might be that. They would be that fifth one. I think they would be the fifth. They just wouldn't get the bye week, but they would probably be number 12.
Wait a minute. Let's back up. The winner of that game doesn't get an automatic bid. It's still got to be the highest group of five. So you're talking.
Well,
Memphis
yeah, but they're number.
or somebody?
Well, yeah, but they're number 20, so I think that they just wouldn't get the bye week. I think either they would be the 12 seed. Either Arizona State or Iowa State would get that bye week because they'd be the Big 12 champion. And then
hold on. Where's Memphis? Are you looking at the poll right now?
I do. Memphis is 25. Memphis is 25, so I find it hard to believe that they would pass UNLV if UNLV won.
No. Okay, if they may not be. Tell me after Boise State. What's the highest group of five team rank? Who is it? Is it UNLV? I don't know. I don't have it in front of me.
Well,
non-power four.
Yeah, it is UNLV. And then after that, it would be the Army and Memphis at 24 and 25.
So they would then have to jump UNLV from 20 to 12.
Yeah. Unless
Arizona State, let's say they won. Arizona State then would go in as the highest ranked. Take a bye. How about if UNLV? But Zach, just think about it. UNLV could get in the playoff, and Ole Miss and South Carolina. Does that chap your a little bit? How about that?
I mean, a little, but I mean, if you win your conference, you should get in. I kind of do believe. I don't know about the whole get the bye week just for winning the Mountain West thing, but I don't have a problem with that as much. But yeah, I mean, I definitely think that South Carolina would be favored to win against UNLV or Boise heading into the game.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, I think that should be how you decide it. But I mean, I'm obviously kind of biased right now. But it should be like if Vegas were going to set this team as the favorite over that team, then they deserve to be in. And I think.
How about if you're the Miami Hurricanes
and
UNLV wins Saturday, Boise gets knocked out, UNLV would be the group of five, and the Miami Hurricanes would go, we're not in the playoff, but UNLV is. How about South Carolina would go, we are not in the playoff, but UNLV is.
Yeah, and Clemson could be, and if Clemson wins, they'll be in, and the Gamecocks just won at Clemson.
At Clemson, just beat them. How about that? And that's wrong. And UNLV, they played them in a good game, I think, the last time. UNLV is pretty good. But UNLV doesn't have a pretty sexy Heisman Trophy candidate. So nobody's even – you talk about how egregiously bad UNLV getting in ahead of the teams we just named. How bad is that?
And a point that I heard brought up, it was actually by Barrett Solly, the Smothered and Covered podcast guy. He brought up a point that, last year the argument to leave FSU out was that their quarterback was injured heading into the playoff, despite the fact they were undefeated. So with that being the case, can the committee look at the fact that the South Carolina Gamecocks quarterback, Lenore Sellers, was injured against LSU, and he was unable to finish that game?
Yeah.
They were leading at the time that he got knocked out. And so that you can kind of look at it and say there's a good chance they would have won if he had not gotten injured, just applying that same type of logic. It feels like the committee, however, somewhat picks and chooses when to apply certain logics to certain situations.
Yeah, which is why you've got to get the subjectivity out of it, right? The NFL doesn't have a committee.
Yeah, see, the NFL is so... It's nice in this and how it's all very cookie cutter, that it's 32 teams and there's a clear formula. There's a series of tiebreakers that's undebatable, unarguable. And if A happens, then X happens. It's just, that's just the way it is. But
I mean, the NFL does have there are flaws in the NFL. It's not perfect.
Sure.
There are times where, the wrong wild cards get in, a division winner is not better than a couple of the wild card teams.
Yeah, like
I
like the example would be when the division winning Seahawks, they won their division at 7-9. They hosted the Saints, who went, I think, 10-6 or 11-5, and that was the famous Marshawn Lynch earthquake run, beast mode run. So yeah, I mean, they probably should potentially look at reseeding.
Nothing's going to be perfect, but the NFL's got it about as close as you can get it.
Oh,
They're
yeah, for
not going
sure.
to.
And but I mean,
The
also,
NFL
it's a harder equation what college football's got to do with the 140 teams or whatever, what have you. It's harder
which is the first thing
equation.
they've got to do, and that's the first thing that has to happen. You got to lop off about 60 or 70 of them. You got to get it to a manageable.
It feels like we're heading towards like 4 giant conferences that have about 16 teams,
or maybe 2 giant ones that are broken into 4 division, just like the NFL.
Maybe
40, your big 48 or something like that.
Yeah, I like
But
the
that's
idea of combining the ACC and SEC, and then also combining the Big 10 and Big 12.
Big 12. Yeah.
Yeah, I would kind of like that idea.
That's the first thing that's got to happen. But I don't know if many people have even thought that through. That what I just threw out. What happens if UNLV wins and they're in the freaking college football playoff, and South Carolina and Ole Miss are sitting home? And hell,
because Alabama would be the one that gets. If one gets in, it's going to be Alabama. Oh, that's on the
what I'm
outside.
saying. We know,
right?
We're assuming Alabama, but then you look around and there's probably going to be. You know what? You don't think a couple of those teams. Hell, even if Iowa State loses to Arizona State, they're going to go, we still didn't get in because of UNLV. Hey, what do you think? What do you think Dion and the boys would say?
Yeah, I mean, I think that whatever scenario plays out, someone's going to get rubbed the wrong way and take issue, and it's going to just make the expansion to 16 teams happen even faster.
I'll tell you who else got a. I think Notre Dame's pretty good, but if you look at their strength of schedule, Notre Dame got a break because teams started falling out. Too many teams had 3 losses. Here, have you ever taken a second to look at Notre Dame's schedule? If strength of schedule is supposed to be a big deal,
right? Yeah, it's not that impressive, especially with the loss to Northern Illinois. Mm-hmm.
At Texas A&M, their biggest win of the year by far. That's a 4-loss football team, Texas A&M.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, at Texas A&M, Northern Illinois. There's their loss, the ugliest loss in the tournament, basically, right? Would you agree with that? That's easily the ugliest loss.
Yeah.
Like Northern Illinois went 6-5, 6-6. At Purdue, they're miserable. Miami of Ohio, Louisville, Stanford, Georgia Tech, nice solid win, I guess. Navy's Navy, Florida State's terrible, Virginia's Virginia, Army, and USC. Wow.
Yeah, it's
wow.
Pretty cakewalk.
That is, and again, not even debatable of the 12 teams that are going to make it in.
And struggled with a lot of those games. Like they didn't win handily.
But they have the ugliest loss by far. It's not like Northern Illinois is 10-2 and going back to the Orange Bowl like they snuck in that one year. Remember they played Florida State in the Orange Bowl, wasn't it?
Yeah, Yeah, but it was their this year. Their game against Notre Dame was just an anomaly performance of a game that they went in there and got the win. So yeah, they didn't build on that.
No doubt. And I watched a lot of that game when it started happening. I think everybody turned their TV on.
Oh yeah.
And I watched probably 3/4 of that game, and it wasn't like there were 2 passes that bounced off helmets, and there was a fumble that got kicked 40 yards down the field in the end. Right? Northern Illinois beat them.
Yeah, wasn't a bunch of spooky fluke plays, right?
They lined up and beat them. 2 coaches I want to talk about real quick. College football. And it's hard to believe they're kind of on shaky ground. Did you hear the comment, and I might can find it, that Lincoln, there's that little rumor Lincoln Riley might be on his way out, and maybe, did you hear the talk, Lincoln Riley and maybe UCF or something, maybe he's ready to get out of.
Yeah.
He came out, and did you read his quote? His quote, I'm paraphrasing, I don't know if I can find it, but he was asked about that by reporters. Hey, what's your future? You're being mentioned. And Lincoln Riley said something to the effect of, I'm the USC coach. He didn't say, I'm happy here, I'm staying here. He said, I'm the USC coach. He left a lot of wiggle room.
Feels like that guy is cut out to be an offensive coordinator. Like he's got the offense, he's got that, but just the whole managing the whole team. Definitely not. I don't think they played defense at USC since he's gotten there, like for a single series. So like I just don't know that he's the guy that you want doing your whole thing. What he really needs is to go be Nick Saban's offensive coordinator, but that's no longer an option. That was always the cure all for everything.
Yeah, didn't he do that already?
Yeah, he already.
Was he one of those?
Was he?
Done that,
I
right?
wouldn't. I don't. Was he one of those guys? Well, I wouldn't be surprised.
Did he go get rehab? No, I may be mixing him up with Sark. We know Kiffin did.
Yeah. Sarkisian definitely did.
I'm mixing him up with he never went to the rehab, the coaching rehab.
No, yeah, he needs that.
But I will say this: it wouldn't stun me if USC and Lincoln Riley shook hands and just said it's not working. Let's it just doesn't feel like it's going to work. Here's the other coach. Do you know? And this is crazy because his raw numbers are really good, except one column. Do you realize there is some real heat right now on Ryan Day in Columbus?
Oh yeah. I mean, you can't. The game against Michigan means that much.
I'll say this. Ryan Day, this may be a duh moment, but I mean, this is a little more than just duh, Terry, Homer Simpson, duh. Ryan Day, they're going to get in the playoff, right? Ohio State's in, right?
Mm-hmm.
Ohio State's in. Ryan Day doesn't need to go lay an egg and get bombed in game 1.
No, yeah, that would almost solidify
it.
Need
to lay an egg in game 1. That there's heat up there, and that is crazy. Now, if Ohio State laid an egg, and it's hot. You lose 4 in a row to Michigan, it's going to be hot in Columbus.
Oh yeah,
in the head coaching office. Would Urban Meyer be crazy enough to go back there for 5 years?
I've definitely seen people lobbying for it on the social media for sure. They're lobbying for him to come back. But yeah, I don't know if he would want to do that, but I've seen people lobbying for it for sure.
You know what
can't,
else I've seen?
What's that?
I've started throwing this out, maybe a month and a half, because I could kind of see it potentially happen. You know what? I'm seeing different outlets using basically the same template story. You know what? It wouldn't be crazy to think Deion Sanders to the NFL and bringing his quarterback with him. I've seen that in multiple over the last couple of weeks. And you remember I started bringing that up. How about the Giants? They open up and they say, Deion, come on in. We're going to wiggle. Hell, we may lose our way to the number 1 pick, right? The Giants are right behind the Jaguars.
Yeah, they're right. They're on tankindex.com vying for it. Yeah.
But I've read more and more legitimate outlets that have had that headline. Deion, might his next step be the NFL next year? The boys are done.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen him debate that on the talk shows, etc. I just don't. I mean, it definitely could happen, but I don't think it'd be a good idea if it did happen. I think that he's ultimately just a great recruiter.
Isn't he going to? Yeah, but Is it
I think
prime
it's
time
more
to look at
likely
the
that he.
NFL?
I think it's more likely that he goes to a bigger marquee college job, not at Colorado, than he goes to the NFL. That's just how I feel.
I think Dion is that actor that he's gotten success on television. He's got a really popular series, and he's kind of the belle of the ball on the television world, in the television world. But he thinks he's a accomplished box office star, and he wants to be on the big screen. He's Dion, prime time. I think the allure of the big screen, the NFL is the big screen. Don't ever forget that. I love college football, but the NFL is the big screen, right? And they're never out of the news. They're the 12-month, 352-week cycle. They're the big news.
Oh yeah, #1 reality TV show in the world by far. But yeah, I mean,
absolutely.
I just don't. I mean, maybe it could happen. I definitely don't see it being successful, and I frankly just don't think it's going to be a thing
I didn't
that's
say it was going
actually.
to be successful.
Yeah, I just don't think it's ever going to become reality.
I never said.
Yeah.
I never said success, but
No,
I said you could. How about the Big Apple? I mean, that's New York. Dion and the Big Apple, man.
I mean, they do seem like they would coincide together. I'm kind of surprised he never played for one of those teams.
Dion and Dallas.
But another rumor that I've seen kind of on these same lines that I kind of might potentially see happening is Belichick to North Carolina. Do you think there's anything to that? That's something I've seen pop up within the past just couple of hours, actually.
I'll defer to you if you've gotten deeper in the story than me. Are there any ties at all? Is there, or did they just grab North Carolina out of the thin blue and throw it on Belichick's name? I mean, did he have a? Does the athletic director, his next door neighbor? Is there any?
Yeah, all I've seen is that he has interest in the job, and I think that they've reached out and had discussions. I don't know about specifics other than that. We only got about 5 seconds. We got to get out of here.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, we're out of here. We'll do it again tomorrow at Bricks Jacks Beach. Have a great Thursday, everybody.
For those dealing with pain from a sports injury, arthritis, or spine condition, Southeast Orthopedic Specialists offers innovative new non-surgical options. Our regenerative medicine treatments, including platelet-rich plasma and other regenerative treatments, use your body's own restorative cells to aid in treating injuries. These procedures are performed in our offices and typically require minimal downtime. If you want to get back to doing what you love, our regenerative treatment options may be right for you. For more information or to schedule an appointment online, visit our website.
Finally, a family atmosphere, kid-friendly restaurant with a real sports bar feel. Bricks Jacks Beach features all of that and a large, climate-controlled covered patio with misting fans and heaters for all seasons. Mix in an extremely diverse menu that features the most quality and affordable steak at the beach, and there's no reason not to enjoy your next lunch, dinner, happy hour, or big sporting event at Bricks Jacks Beach, 300 2nd Street North in Jacksonville Beach. See you at Bricks Jacks Beach.
Since 1936, Procter Ace has been proudly helping Jacks with all your home and garden projects. Whether you need tools, paint, plumbing supplies, or expert advice, we've got what you need to get the job done right. Looking to brighten your yard? Visit our garden center for plants, tools, and everything to make your outdoor space flourish. You're not just shopping here, you're part of our community. So come in today and let us help you tackle your next project with a smile. After all,
Ace is the place with the helpful hardware, folks.
When I say it means something to me, gentlemen, it means something to me.
High school football is back and it's bigger than ever. Welcome to the Friday Night Zone Blitz.
It is bigger than a game.
Watch the biggest games each week live as the action unfolds with instant reaction and analysis from our Hall of Famer, Kevin Sullivan. It starts with live look-ins at the top matchups, including our Jaguars Prep Whataburger Game of the Week, and that is just the beginning of 4 straight hours of coverage. From 8 to 10:30, the Friday Night Zone Blitz is streaming on our Action News Jax app and online. At 10:30, the Friday Night Blitz you know and love. A half hour of highlights from around the area. 11 o'clock, we shine the spotlight on the bands that pump up the crowd. 11:15, it's time to blitz through the highlights online and on air. Then 11:35, back to the stream to break down the night's results with a reaction from local coaches. 4 straight hours of high school football on the Friday Night Zone Blitz. Only on Action Sports Jax 24/7.
Baker Sports is local sports. Uniforms from Pop Warner and Little League to travel ball, high school, and college. They make you look good. They help you play good. Baker Sports has been helping families make memories that will last a lifetime with their Baker's Buckets. We've got a lot of these filled with baseballs and softballs in the garage. I've been throwing batting practice to Ty and Kaylee for years, and also sit on the Baker's Bucket, catching Kaylee while she practices her pitching. Baker Sports is homegrown, and a lot of employees that used to play on local ball fields now work for Baker Sports, now helping you look good, play good, and make memories of your own. Visit Bakersport.com to see what Baker Sports can do for you. Custom apparel, Nike, Under Armour, Adidas, embroidery, screen printing, and more. Baker Sports is local sports from Jacksonville to anywhere in the Southeast. Bakersport.com.